And we're reading from verse 13. So somebody please read verse 13 to about 20. Half of it. This is one whole, 34, it's one whole pericope. 13 to 20.
Luke 12:13 to 20. Jesus tells the parable of the rich fool. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." Jesus replied, "Man, who appointed me a judge or an arbitrator between you?" Then he said to them, "Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions." And he told this parable. The ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, "What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops." Then he said, "This is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my surplus grain. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself?"
Thank you. So, he continues. And he says, Luke says, someone in the crowd shouted out to him, "Teacher, Rabbi, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." And he said, "Man, who appointed me judge or arbitrator over you?" This week, a part of our headlines read, well, yesterday's headline. Last week, somebody was visiting from England and killed.
Yes, I remember.
And today, we see that the person responsible for his death was his brother. His own brother killed him over land. I've always said it, that at death, we sometimes or most often see the worst behavior we could possibly see. Because people come out fighting for, as Jamaican says, dead left. Dead left is one of the big squabbles. But it's not just Jamaicans that do it, because here, there's a man in the crowd who feels that he's being left out, or it is not being shared properly. There was a standard in the book of Deuteronomy as to how it should be shared. The person who is eldest gets 2/3, and the rest is shared up. We kind of recognize that when we read the story in Luke 14 of the, not 14, of the two sons. Luke 15, of the two sons.
15.
Right, of two sons, and one who went before his father demanding what he must get. See? There is a sense whereby people feel entitled to what is left behind and how much they're entitled to. And it creates squabbles. It creates all-out war amongst families. I've seen it. In this family here, the man was brought before the police. They tried all sorts of intercessory methodologies that would calm and cause them to think. And it didn't happen. They're planning their mother's funeral. She's not even buried yet. And this is what happens. I'm not highlighting that story for you to go home and buy the paper. That's not the point. The point is that it always, very seldom, it doesn't cause a problem. Very seldom. And people will do things. People will do things, you know. It is something that I have noticed. Let's just leave it at that. So here he is, and he says, and rabbis would do things like this. They would intervene, and it would be part of their responsibility to say to them, hey, do so and do so. But Jesus is not about fixing deadlift. He was here on a different purpose. His message concerned something else. And he said to the man, but who appointed me arbitrator or judge over you? In other words, man, just go on about your business about second land. Now, we don't know what was happening with the land. We don't know how it was being dealt with. But we do know that the next thing Jesus said to them, whom he was teaching, beware and be on your guard against every form of greed.
Question. There's not much to the backdrop of the story, as I just said. So was Jesus calling the brothers greed or everyone?
Well, he's talking about greed in general.
Okay.
And he's saying to beware. Many people have used it to say, well, it's because one was greedy. Which one? The one who was asking or the one who had it to give? He's pointing to the problem we have with greed. What would you say greed is?
Could it be defined as, apart from not being satisfied, not being content with what one has? Yeah. Is it as well? I can't say it is a subject. Yeah. It's. Yeah.
You finished?
Yeah.
Okay. Go on, see what you say.
Well, this is my definition, is an insatiable desire of wanting more. You cannot be satisfied.
Is a desire to have. Is a desire to have even when you have. It's wanting more. Wanting more. Greed has a terrible effect on persons. It results most times in selfishness. It often results in covetousness. It often results in what we term as bad mind. You know, yes, Jamaican term, gravelicious. You just want whatever you just want, and nobody must have. That's the problem with greed. Paul addresses greed at one stage when he says, I buffet my body so that I am content in whatever capacity, circumstance I find myself. I have learned to be what? Satisfied. Content means to be satisfied. And that is a discipline in itself. Content is not something, is not a gift. We seem to believe everything that we must do as believers is a gift that God must give us contentment. You must buffet your body. Paul says, I train myself that in time of plenty, I'm content. And in time of not having any, I am content. So whether I have or don't have, I am. It brings us to a place where we become ungrateful. We don't know how to say thanks. And it causes us to be mean. Greed. Greed, we don't want anybody to share. Now, greed affects church people very often in that not even giving to the Lord. It has a problem with them giving to God. So you were just about to take the mic and interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh, there's a question I wanted to clarify.
But we could get to it. It's not going anywhere. Go on.
Is it that we as Christians shouldn't want more for ourselves?
No. It's not a desire to improve one's lot. It's the inability to be satisfied with what you have and even with improvement. That's the difference. Nothing wrong with ambition, but it's where ambition will drive us to. Because ambition very often leads to greed. Not being satisfied. Greed, I've seen destroy whole relationships. And I'm talking about family like how we started out here. That's one thing. I'm talking about husband and wife. Greed, destroying. Because one becomes mean, grabby, wanting, and don't share. And the other one then, one starts to excel in life and start looking at themselves and start thinking, this one not good enough for me. They were at the beginning. Outgrow each other. It's a funny word that to use, grow. There's a Roman proverb that says, wealth is like drinking seawater. The more you drink it, is the more thirsty you become. You should write that down. Wealth is like drinking seawater. The more you drink it, is the more thirsty you become. You just don't know how to be satisfied anymore. Doesn't mean that if you invest or you are a builder and you build and you make a couple, you shouldn't build. But it shouldn't be the drive to earn and have more. That shouldn't be the desire that pushes you. Because when we start desiring wealth, the crave for wealth replaces love for one another. The crave for wealth replaces love for one another. It also replaces sympathy towards others. We can't understand why them don't do better. We and them start out same way. And I'm driving a Mercedes-Benz SUV. And we went same school. Why they must come out now begging me? We make comparisons like that. And we don't feel anything for those less fortunate. Many of us have come out of areas or grew up in areas that are considered ghetto. You never knew it when you were living there. It's now that you move out that you hear that it was ghetto. I don't know about you. That was me when I lived very early in my life when I lived in a certain community. I will not name it, just in case it brings a negative light on that community. But, you know, it's when I left and went to a different community that was considered more upscale that I understood, oh, so that is where poor people live. I didn't know I was poor. You see, because very often, well, how we grew up, we learned how to be satisfied. And I want to tell you something. I want to talk to the parents especially. Many of you are creating a culture in your children of not being satisfied. You just keep giving and giving and giving, and your excuse is, well, I never had it, so I work hard so them can have. Well, you didn't turn out too bad for somebody who didn't have. Yes, overcompensation. You didn't turn out too bad. You know, when it came to Christmas, my father would take us downtown, and people would say, oh, you're rich, your father take you downtown. Same thing you want. There were limitations as to what he would buy and how much he would spend. Or not could, but not would, but could spend. And he would say, take what you want. And he would always give the charge. But remember, you're not getting anything else for the year. So select wisely. You know, select wisely. I learned my lesson one year when I took a bus. And the bus couldn't do anything, it was painted. So the people were painted on the side and everything. You couldn't get nobody inside it. And this big bus, all it did is drive and nothing. But it was so attractive and I wanted the bus. You sure? He would always ask, you sure? Yes, I want the bus. All right, remember, you know, nothing else, yes, and you get the bus. And after the first day, you put the bus in a corner because you can't play with it. All the little matches stick and thing, what you'd put in it and imagine is people. That you don't have that. And it's bigger than that little car that you have that from last year, you know. Not being able to be satisfied. We keep pouring stuff on our children. Pouring stuff. We're buying the latest phones and we're giving it to them. For what? For what? You're giving them smartphones and they're not even smart. For what? And then as they grow older, you start pouring on all the latest styles on them. And you're buying these expensive clothes. And you're not even wearing those things. But you're buying it and give them. Brand name. Because, you know, if we buy less and them go to school, them friends go and tease them. Okay, teasing sometimes help to shape their character. Oh. But you're not about shaping character. You're about satisfying greed. And this child grows up with everything, having everything, and soon they don't know how to be satisfied with less. Don't know how to be satisfied. A lot of you parents, and I'm talking not only to those in TV land or in virtual land, you know, I'm talking to some of you right here. Right here. Everything. Them going on a trip, you do have the money for the trip, but you don't know how to say, we can't afford that. Can't afford that. You know. I think that God sent me to Bible school at the right time. Because Sudi was 3 at the time. And trust me, for a 3-year-old child, she never cried for nothing. If I ever said to her, we do have the money, and it wasn't a lie, and it wasn't a test, and it wasn't to shape character, we just don't have it. And she'd just say, I understand, Daddy. And I'd feel bad sometimes, you know. I'd feel bad. But it was good for her. It's good for her. Now, if she turn out and see her grave in greed, it's not my fault. Not my fault at all. But we as parents need to take up back. This is the second time I'm talking to parents, don't it? I spoke to them the other day. Last week, did I talk to parents last week? Yeah. It was church? Oh, okay. It was church. Mm. What, this is what? Oh, okay. All right. Amir, please check with YouTube because last week questions were posted that we didn't answer. So, he moves from that and he gives an illustration. He says, before he says, beware. You know what beware means? It's something every child in Jamaica should know because nearly everybody used to have it on them fence. Beware of dogs. So you learn quickly what beware meant. Look out. Be careful. Be on your guard. Be on the lookout. Be on your guard means more than standing watch. Be on your guard means get ready to run in that case. Be on your guard against every form of greed. Be on the lookout. Stand watch, you said? Stand guard, no. To stand watch. To look for. Look out for greed. Not just some forms of greed, but every form of greed. For anything in your life that you have, that you cannot be satisfied with, that is greed. Anything. Anything. Everything. You know one of the biggest struggles I have is to buy anything nice for me. I struggle with it. I just feel, so boy, you shouldn't be spending so much money on yourself. And I know people will jump up and say, no, you work hard, you know, you can buy. Hey, I ain't stopping you from doing that, but that is not my mantra. I struggle if I go out there and I see the top of the line phone and I want it. I struggle for weeks looking at it, trying to make up my mind, trying to. Yes. And I'm very careful about what I say around people, and I even shun some people. You know, people like, if they see you anything, they don't know how you get it. They have no idea how it came. They don't know if somebody gave it to you. Nothing. They just see it here. Ah, you get rich now, though. No, I will joke with my friends, and they'll joke with me. And I know them, but you have some people who love to call you how you're rich. I am also weary of people like that. Because sometimes they encourage you in ways that you start to want to be rich. And you can't be satisfied with what you have. So, yeah, go on.
So, a question here. How do you then find that balance that you don't overstep into this area of greed, but at the same time remain ambitious to, how do you balance it?
Well, if my ambition is to drive me to be better at what I do, that's fine. But if my ambition is to drive me to live in a big house and drive a fancy car, that is not good for me.
But you would admit also that there
sometimes it comes.
Oh, that's
yes.
Exactly.
But then you must learn how to remain humble.
Okay. All right.
It is when that it now takes over you.
Okay.
And you feel that you have to exercise. I had a bracelet, a gold bracelet. Yeah, and it was stolen. This bracelet was given to me by my father. And some gunmen took it away. And I'm telling you, I was very hurt by it because it meant so much to me. It meant much to me, not because it was a fancy bracelet, but because he gave it to me. I've had it for some years. And I knew it was valuable because you know, quite a few times I would walk where them buying gold, and they would look at me and say, hey, how much you want for that? And I realized it's valuable. But it didn't matter. It wasn't valuable because of its worth. It was valuable because of who gave it. See? And when they stole it, he went inside and he took out all of the jewelry he had. A chain, pendant, couple things, and he just said, here, replace it. And I found them the other day. They weren't lost. I just never replaced it because my mind was always, what if? And I took them to, and I said, you know, because he gave me, and he said, do what you want to do. And I guess part of that was to melt them down and get back a bracelet. And I went and I found out how much they were worth. And I said, okay, worth plenty. But I wouldn't buy the bracelet and I wouldn't melt them. For one, I don't know if the jewelry are going to take them and do something else with them and give me something. Then I would not be. It's a loss of what I would have. Yeah, so anyway.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Howard asked, how do you strike the balance, that balance in regards to greed? This is something I went through at work today. And I looked at Matthew 6 and verse 25 that says, it does not mean that it is wrong to make provisions for our future or for our physical needs. I think earlier Pastor mentioned something of the sort, maybe not in all of these words. So I'm not sure if this reference would work.
Okay, right. That's fine. Yeah, putting down something for next for retirement is not a bad idea. Have you seen how much you get now for pension? Now, you're too young to consider pension more so. But trust me, I controlled what my father got. And I'm going to tell you that you better put on something for pension. Find something to invest in. You know, both lost this, but it was wise for him to have put it down. And it's wisdom for us to put away for that. Buy insurance policy. And don't come and tell me foolishness about the Lord will provide. Of course he will. He always does. But he gives us wisdom too. That is part of his provision. Did you realize that? He provided wisdom for you to invest so that you would have something later on. Hello?
Amen.
So, he tells them a parable. But before he tells them this parable, he outlines in his warning that we didn't read. He says, against every form of greed, stand. For even when you have an abundance, even when one has an abundance, does his life consist of his possessions? So there are things that are more important than wealth. Health is one of them. Happiness is another one of them. Peace is another one of them. Yeah, right? Peace is another one of them. You know, relationship is another one of them. There are many things that are more important than wealth. Go ahead.
From our sister Avril, would you say that striking the balance really is about the motive behind it?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's what I alluded to. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, Avril, I see you listening well, as usual. Well, I'll tell you that story afterwards. So it tells them a parable. He says the land of a rich man was very productive. This man planted corn and it growing all wheat, you know. Yes. And he began reasoning himself and said, what will I do since I have no place to store my crops? In other words, his storehouses could not contain his harvest. And he says, what am I going to do with all this now? Then he says, this is what I will do. I will tear down my barns and build greater barns. And I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to myself, self, you have many goods laid up for many years to come. Take your ease. Eat, drink, and be merry. I can think of a tragic story. Well, I won't mention that one. Too close. But I know one of a lady who, like many Jamaicans, migrated and worked in 3 jobs. Worked in 3 jobs. She worked hard, bought herself a nice house. When I say nice, I mean nice house. She bought the house in Long Island, which is the upper crust of New York, I would say, in terms of houses. You have other places too, like Jamaica Estates and that, but hers was nice house. She continued with her 3 jobs because she said, well, I need to furnish this nicely. So she bought furniture for the entire house. You know, and she had to work to pay for this. So she worked for a couple more years. 3 jobs. Her 3 jobs meant that on a Sunday when she would come in, she would have at the most 2 hours in this nice, well-furnished house. 2 hours. Sometimes she didn't even have the time to lie down in the bed that she made sure was the right one. Didn't have the time. And she continued to work hard, and she was just about finishing to pay off, and she said, well, you know, I'm going to ease off, you know, but I want a nice car. So she continued with her 3 jobs. Now, if you know anything about New York, it's not necessarily the best place to have a car. Where she was, if she had retired and settled down or eased off, she could use a car. Long Island, you can drive up and down, can do stuff there. But when you get to places like more Brooklyn, it's best to go on the train. It might cost you more to drive. So her 3 jobs kept her tied. And she finished paying for the car. And she finished paying for the house. And she finished paying for the furniture. And she said to her children, next week I'm going to quit 2 of the jobs and just settle down and enjoy life. And dropped down and died from a heart attack. Same story. Same story. Same story of people working hard to have something for later and not enjoying what they have now. You know, say, Ecclesiastes talk about that. Ecclesiastes, Solomon, the wisest man, Solomon says, hey, You went kill off yourself to make this money, work hard to build a business, and then you drop down dead, and somebody who don't even know how the business must run come and take it over and don't even treat it properly, not understanding the sacrifices you have made. Take time to enjoy some of it. Because Ecclesiastes, with all of those warnings, also says, make sure you serve God whilst you can. Some are you waiting till you get older. Some of you waiting, I'm going to get more serious, you know, but right now I'm trying to build. And so everything comes before God. I tried that one time, it never worked. And I was working as well as I was in school. I was doing maths exam the Monday, and I thought, hey, well, no school, no church tonight. I'm staying home, and I'm going to study, and I'm going to study, and I'm going to go, and I'm going. And I stayed home, and for the 3 hours that I would have been at church, nothing made sense to me. Didn't even start really studying until after church would long be gone. You know. I'm not saying you mustn't work hard. But nothing that you do consists of life. Which is what he's saying. Pick the important things. Like what? Like serving God. That's what Ecclesiastes is telling us. He's saying, hey, work hard, man. Enjoy the things that you have now. You know, pick what you can, grow what you can. But hey,
in the same Ecclesiastes passage, when he concluded that statement, he said, all of that is striving after wind. It's vain, vanity.
Striving after wind,
yeah.
Yes. Vanity of vanities. He calls it vanity of vanities. The word vanity means vapor. Yes. I see you guys listened when I spoke. Thinnest vapor. You know what a vapor is? You know what vapor is? Vapor is like, yeah, like smoke, something like that. We have a riddle in Jamaica. Room full, all full, can't get a spoonful. You guys know that? Yes. I know you know it because I say it to you, but you never knew it before. You knew it before? Well, like him is real Jamaican. Can't get a spoonful. In other words, you can't grasp it. You can't hold on to it. It's there, it's real, you see it, but you cannot control it. And this is what Solomon warns about. He says there are things in your life that you think makes up life, but you can't grasp it. It's like striving after wind. You know what it means to strive after wind? To run it down and catch it. I wonder if how many of you ever tried to do that. You can't catch it. You open the door and say, pass down a pass. Can't hold it. You can't control it. It is not wise. And he says, you know, it's vanity. It's striving after wind. Jesus is saying the same thing here. This man thought that his wealth consisted in what he had, and it would have made him happy and satisfied. But the thing that was most important, which was his soul, he had not taken care of.
And using back Solomon's conclusion is, this is a conclusion of the whole thing. Right. Serve God, keep his commandment, and live.
Right. That's Solomon's thing. Real joy comes with your service to God. Real contentment comes with your relationship with God. Real satisfaction comes there. Everything else is striving after wind. But he does encourage you and say, listen, once you work, enjoy the fruit of your labor. Yes, Amir. You said there was a question?
There's a question on YouTube from Lovell Burtz. Asks, how relevant is the topic of greed in light of the context of the church I see pastors flying private jets and dress a particular way.
Oh, but then that alone should answer this question. It is greed that they are driven by and not the satisfaction of carrying out the call. No, they are. I remember Jimmy Swaggart had a huge plane, but it's more like a cargo plane sort of a thing. It wasn't one of these fancy jets and things. And he needed that because when he went around for his ministry, he took everything that was needed. Like when he came to Jamaica, they need stadium supply of electricity. They had big generators that they used, you know. He carried those things so that they would not have a problem and they would not cost anything in serving. So there are those that will minister and need something. But hey, if you need a vehicle, why is it a Rolls Royce? And then you're going to tell me that Jesus would drive one. Really? Really? That's what they say. Hey, Jesus would have had the best. He wants us to have the best. The best, of course God wants us to have the best. He already gave us the best. His son. You come by Rolls Royce.
Our sister Roxine said, I can identify with that point you just made, Pastor. It was about you not going to church. She said, I can identify with you. I found that the time we give to the Lord, He pours back tenfold. Bible study for hours. Then back home to study and understanding flooding, and no time and with successful retention for exam. I don't know if I get that. Next comment was, so much proof for God honoring His people when we put love in obedience and pleasing our first love first.
That's what we ought to do. Seek first the kingdom, His righteousness, and all things will be added. This rich man now tear down the barns and him say, all right, we're going to live high on the hog. We're going to, drive the best cars. We're going to build the biggest houses, probably have the most fancy women around, and all of that are going to enjoy the fruit of my labor. And the Bible says, God said to him, you fool. No. You have foolish in your Bible? Oh no, why you want to water it down? You fool. This very night, your soul is required of you. And now, who will own what you have prepared?
So he's holding on to what he had and want to expand whatever he had. The basis of that is greed?
Well, his was for personal satisfaction and to gain more.
So, as you said, as he pointed out earlier, beware of all kind of greed.
All kinds of
falls
greed,
in that category.
Greed that you look to enlarge in yourself.
So so then it could be that sometime our reluctance for not giving could be stemming from me, being greedy.
Oh, he said it. That greed sometimes affects the church to the place where people won't give. It's two things affect our giving. Greed, and we're going to talk about one coming up. Not trusting God. Not trusting God. Wasn't prepared in the right way. And we have plenty of people like that, They have all the right insurance policies. They have all the biggest accounts. They have everything. I heard Usain Bolt talk this evening. And you know, I wish his other compatriot would learn from him. First of all, he never spoke until today. That one would have been talking a long time. I might never have team, and that one started talking.
Who is his compatriot?
Don't worry about it. He will pick up. Never, very often talk without too much sense.
Oh.
And he said, in spite of what is happening now, Jamaica will always be my country. I love Jamaica. And I will only do and always do what I can to lift up the country. Was even centered on himself. Plenty Christians could take a page out of that book. And not, when I say take a page out of that book, I don't mean say take a page out of that book and talk about Jamaica now. I'm talking about our heart towards God. Because many of us, if we had lost that way, we'd have come out and said, Jesus, oh, you could have made this happen to me, Lord. You know, said it was going, look what you do.
But quite contrast.
And many of us would want to turn back on God.
Contrastingly, there was one lady that was interviewed over nationwide, and she's a Christian, and she said that she's losing faith because she's struggling because she don't know how God could allow this to happen to her. So there you go.
Well, it's not little faith, that thing is plenty. It's plenty. When you have invested like that and you lose everything, it's hard. And it's not that you lost it on a bad investment. You lost it because of greed. It's greed. Just what the Bible talking about here. Greed. The inability to be satisfied. But in the when you compare just what God offers, you don't even have to compare that, you know. Just think. What if she had died and gone? What would have happened to the money? Somebody would have get it, or somebody would have gone with it. But her soul would have been right with God. We must maintain the right focus in situations, challenging situations. And as I talk, I know I'm challenging my own self, you know. But, you know, many times, you know, we don't listen and we don't seek God when we're doing this kind of thing. Because did you know that the Bible tells us how to invest? Did you know that? Yes. You never know that, Margaret. You just think that you must take up your money and just put it somewhere. No, the Bible tells us how to invest. The Bible says, one, don't put all your money in one place. First rule. It says spread it around. For who knows how it's going to turn out? Ecclesiastes says it. Solomon says it. He says, two, don't be afraid to invest. You know, he who watches the wind won't reap. And he who watches the rain will not sow. Don't be afraid, in other words, to take chances. But there's another passage that goes with that. In all of your ways,
acknowledge him,
and
he shall direct your path.
Oh, but we live that? No, many of us is Chris, direct your path. You go in and you talk to Chris and you say, Chris, what do you think? And Chris said, boy, you should have put this in. And you don't even say to Chris, all right, I'll come back. I need to go pray and come back.
Point taken.
Yeah. No, I'm not slamming Chris, you know, because Chris trying to help you guys. And when I use Chris, I was saying, well, boy, for all those people you talk to about investing, they lure you in. You know, and you come in and you put everything in one place and then you blame God when it's gone. Shouldn't put everything in one place. Don't care how well it seems to be doing. Spread it. Spread it. We have a song we sing, spread it to every Jamaican. Well, spread it. That's what Solomon says. Don't just put it one place. Don't care how good it's doing. Put look here, so. Put look there, so. Put look there, so. Spread it around. So this man, so is a man who stores up treasure for himself and is not rich towards God. So the man had everything stored for himself, but had no thought of God. No thought of his commitment to God. No thought of what God would want. No thought of God's purpose in his life. No thought about that. And many of us find ourselves there. Yeah, you come church sometime, but it's not any real thought of God. No real thought. Because it don't take much to switch. It don't take much to show your level of commitment. We try to get you to see that. And we talk about this so often. And people, people criticize me and say, boy, you're always talking about these things. You don't talk about other things. Like what? Like how you can get rich? I am not into wealth by finance. I'm into spiritual wealth. And I'm not into investment on this side of life. I'm into the other side, investment. By the way, investing on the other side is the benefits you gain here. Benefits you gain here. So when Bob talk about, when he talk about pie in the sky and talk about him wanting things today, him have no clue what him talking about. Because, yes, that kind of foolishness. That is another preacher's famous saying, living your best life now. How can that be? When the world is full with sickness and pain and suffering and death and decay, how your best life can ever be on this side? Your best life has to be on the other side. Oh, but God has given us the ability to enjoy this side, but our focus is on the other side. But you want yours now. The last person that said that ended up feeding hogs. Didn't he? Yes. He said, I want mine now, and he ended up feeding hogs. And he said to his disciples, verse 21, for this reason I say to you, do not worry about your life. For what reason? For the reason of not being so caught up on what you are gaining now that you forget about what happens tomorrow. And tomorrow don't mean tomorrow morning or next week, meaning what happens on the other side of death. For this reason, do not worry about your life. Why? Because life does not consist of possessions. I see some people, some little kids do have nothing. Nothing. And I see them enjoying themselves come Christmas more than those who have so much. Kids who can build them, we're losing that nowadays because, as I said, parents nowadays will do everything to give them children something all teeth. Get themselves into debt, all sorts of crazy things. But, when I grew up, I had some little boys around me that when they build a truck, boy, not even those made in Japan look like them. Yeah, but out of milk box, and you don't know those things. You guys really don't know that. Box truck. Yeah, you grew up in a country, you know it. These town people have no idea what we're talking about, except those maybe a little bit higher on the ladder. They might understand box truck. Don't even open your mouth because you don't know box truck. All you know is you are talking to. Same thing, guilt, guilt. you would see them with these box trucks, and trust me, nothing is missing from it. You want one of those, you know. And some of them, they would have the string, pulling the wheels on, then pushing it with a stick, and the thing just turn and gone on. And he said, whoa. Him sit down at him yard and make that with razor and empty milk box. Or skate. Although police used to mash them up. Skate. It's not push, you don't know nothing about push card. It names skate. Yes, 2 wheels on it, and you come down and you sit down on the wooden thing. You sat on it. It's skate it name. But push cart. Push cart is like what them have, the cart band them have. Skate. You know skate, Amaro? Of course. Yeah, it's out of board, you make it. And when them finish decorate that with flag all flying from the tail and everything, I mean, them used to have skate race on the road. And all the carriers coming on the road, you know, and you're outside, and go on. Marky, I couldn't do that, make my father see them, because he would have bashed them up to what he said. Because it's illegal to have them on the road. You're not supposed to have those things on the road. You know. But kids used to be innovative. When they don't have, they learn how to be innovative. Here these kids never know what outside look like. They don't even know what outside look like, because you keep buying them the tablets and the games and the, what the thing name? The Xbox, where you're lining up, you know, night before, because the store going to have the new game tomorrow and you want to give them the new game for Christmas. Listen to me. I can't forget one year, there were some dolls that came out named Bratz. And I said, boy, I'd love to get one of those, Sasuri. That time I was working and they weren't very expensive. They were about the same cost as Barbie, but it was the latest kind, Bratz. You know? And as fast as Bratz come anywhere, it gone. Couldn't get it. So, Suri was not getting a Bratz for Christmas. She got another Beedo, a Barbie. You know? And 3 weeks after Christmas, we went into the stores. Bratz doll all on the floor. Marked down. Selling cheap. You know, some come with cars and radio and all sorts of things. And I just looked at it and I said, but look at that. People are killing themselves to get it before Christmas. And I got the Bratz doll for the following Christmas. 3 weeks after Christmas. At half the cost. With wholly more towards it. And I said to myself, self, make note of this. When you're shopping for Christmas, wait till it finishes. You go and get what you need. It's true. Best time to shop abroad is not like out here. It's after the event is over. When Valentine's Day is over and Easter is over, you go to Walmart and the plush dolls, the stuffed things, they are selling them for how much dollars before? And always that expensive. They're selling them for $10, $15, and come after Christmas, or after, not even, after the holiday Easter, and I would buy enough to full barrels and send them to my father for his treat. $1 each, $2. You know, lights that sell for so much money. I walk in the store, $1 per light set. You know, is what we put ourselves in. Wealth is not in things. It's not in things. It's in how we serve the Lord. And as you said, that's what Solomon said. So he says to his disciples, for this reason I say to you, what reason? The reason that he just gave. Don't worry about your life as to what you will eat, or what you will, or your body, as to what you will put on. Don't worry about your life as to what you will eat, nor your body as to what you will put on. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. You know, most of you who have lived where you live for more than 5 years, I guarantee you, you have more stuff than you need. I want to bet you any money. We put it towards the building fund and see how quick we reach there. No joke. No joke. When we moved, I never realized I had so many things that I never wanted. It just kept coming out and coming out. You ended up giving away so much that you end up moving with, and you should have kept more and you didn't keep. And so you were short when you got there. But hey, you know, you didn't need it. Why we walk up and down so much? You know, you don't need it. There are plenty of things we have, we really don't need it. Plenty of things we see that we feel. One of the things that I used to learn that I didn't need is these expensive exercise equipment. What I do with another piece of furniture? Place little enough. You know, it's furniture. Trust me. We go into Sears and they have this thing you push up and you come down and you push up and I go on the man and say, test it, man. This is how they lower, you know. And you test it and you feel it and you say, oh my God, I need one of these. If I have one of these, I will exercise. I need one. And you are not working in a big job because you're going to school full time. And you sacrifice, and you sacrifice, and you end up spending all of $200 for it. And you go home with it, and the first night you jump on it, man, and you do about 10. And you say, I start tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes. It just stayed there gathering dust. It ended up that I had to beg my friend. You like it? Take it now? Take it. He said, well, I don't have anywhere to put it. I said, you're fine, man. Take it because it's in the way. I don't tell him that, you know. But it's in the way. The room too small to accommodate it. And you're not, you take it, man. You know, said, help me, take it. And him say, you sure you want to? I say, you're my friend. Of course I want to give you. That was the second piece of exercise equipment that I had to have. I've never bought another piece. Trust me. I walk. I walk. And I don't walk on any treadmill either. I don't want a treadmill. I know people who get treadmill for them Christmas, use it for a couple of days and never use it again. And I'm not calling any names, you know. But I walk because when I'm tired, don't care where I walk, go, I have to come back. So it's the best discipline for me. You know, so I walk, and when I get there, and I said, geez, I'm tired now. Well, tired not well, you know, I have to go back. So it helped me with the discipline. There are too many things we think we need that we really don't need, because as fast as we get them, we realize it's not what it promised. Clothes that you have to have. Shoes that you have to have. And try stop it about Michelle. No. Men do it too. Ask tomorrow. Men do it too. You know, you have to have that. That will go well with my pink suit. You know. And that's fine. But you find out that it's not all that it is promised to be. Because it never brings true satisfaction. Don't worry about it, God says. Consider the ravens. It's like a challenge that he throws out. He says, consider the ravens. You know what a raven is? It's like what we call blackbird out here. He said, consider them. They have neither sown nor reap. They have no storeroom, no barn. And yet God feeds them. God takes care of them. How much more you? how much more you? I said last week that God never made any sparrow in his image. He made us in his image. Check that. No. Yeah. This is the thing I tell you to check. He made us in his image. He never sent his son, his most precious son. He sent his beloved son for you and I. Not for any bird. And he says, then you think I'm going to sit down and watch you perish for want? Is the other reason why we don't give. We don't trust God to provide. So why are you worrying? You need to trust God. Why? Because God has value for you, first thing. You need to trust God, verse 25, and which one of you by worrying can add a single hour to his lifespan? Stop worrying, because worry is fruitless. It achieves nothing. You sit down worrying about where the gas money going to come from tomorrow, Margaret. And do you, after your time of worry, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, not even sleeping, get up the next morning, and your worry produce gas money? Worry produces nothing. It changes nothing.
Yes. Could it be that one of our problem with giving is that we believe that we earn it? That we go out, we work with money, so we should have the autonomy to decide what I do with my money?
I don't know if that is so much a problem with the church. I think the real problem is the church is that they feel, you know which churches have good giving? Those who have the barter plan. Yeah, if you give, God is going to give back to you. Pressed down, shaken out. The Bible says he will do that. He's going to give back because he doesn't owe any man. But it didn't mean that if you give $10, you're getting back a pan full of $10, pressed down, shaken and overflowing with $10. That's not what it means. It means that God is going to provide more than how you will give. That's what it means. But some of us is like horse race. We put in $10 and we're hoping to score big. And we are lured by preachers who say that kind of nonsense. It was a preacher who came up with the idea of seed faith giving. Yes. And that is foolishness because it's not in the Bible. God gives. God provides. God is no man debtor. But your giving to God is not so that you can get back tenfold.
But the average person, let me say the Christian, when they work and receive their money, do we oftentimes come to the place where we say, yes, it's God that give this to me? Or am I saying, hey, I'm me work for this, I may deserve to buy a pair of shoes, I may deserve to buy this and whatever. Because quite often I don't think a lot of us see ourselves as stewards. That God entrusts this with us, and we are to be good steward over it.
Well, I can't answer what you think. You know, I can only say that many persons who think that way, yes, they get sick for a week and realize that they can't. Many of them who put their trust in their jobs lose them and realize they never got it because they don't realize that you don't get your positions because of who you are and what your degree is. Yes, that will open doors, but God uses that to open bigger doors for you. And you have to learn to trust Him.
Amen.
You have to learn to
trust Him.
But it's funny, but when people who get those jobs turn around and get mean, don't give God anything. You get a raise of pay, and you're always there singing, Lord, if I only had enough more money to give you. And then the raise of pay come. What? Lord, if I only had some more to give you. You know. Or we question, God lays on our heart, hey, there's a need, give. And we question whether or not we should. It's one thing to be able to afford what you're giving, It's another thing to give sacrificially. Oh, what loud amens. It's one thing to be able to say to the church, I hear we need new equipment, so I'll purchase them. And by the way, anybody who make that kind of announcement, we make it from the platform. Because the Bible says you give and you must know. Giving is between you and God. It's one thing to do that because you can afford it. It's another thing when you can't afford it, but you're giving. You're saying to God, God, is you provide this, Is you provide this. And you can provide this again. So, Lord, I trust in you. I give in. I've told you the story many times about my friend and the lunch. Remember? Yeah. Hold the music. Go back, Amir. If you move a little bit quicker, we'll finish on time.
So I can ask, what I was saying in regards to God giving back when we give is not even for our sake, as you were saying, but so that we can give more. Like even when Paul was, like his prayer was for the Corinthians to get more money or get more so that they could give more. And so even when God blesses us, the aim is not just to use it for ourselves, but continue giving and giving more.
Because then you become good, you used the word a while ago, stewards. And you can be trusted with more. Because you are not at the heart of what you do. God is. God is. All right. We're finished now. We want to thank you for joining us. Anything before we go, people? Yeah. Quickly.
Our sister Roxine said, or that we tithe and give offerings, so anytime God provides, it's because we gave our tithe and offering. God does not owe us a thing. Last point, not even to shield. Well, I don't know what this is in reference to, so the last point.
Oh, not even to shield from suffering, God owes us. Yeah. We want to thank you for joining. With those online, it was great to have you. We thank you for your observations, questions, and comments. As usual, it contributes richly to the study of God's Word. We want to thank those who came out tonight. We're looking forward to see you on Sunday. We continue our series on renewed, re-energized, which are reinvigorated, recommitted. No, that was not that message. Yes, no, that was not that message. All right, bless you. See you on Sunday, 8 o'clock and at 10. Enjoy your weekend.